Hello and welcome into the 4th and 11 show. April 25th is Thursday, is draft time. It is time for a lot of sports in today's world. I am your host, Jacob Steiner, here today surviving another weird weather event happening in the state of Texas. Man, it's been 2 times in the last week or so that I have been nearly close to a tornado, so I am just overjoyed, but glad to bring another 4th and 11 show for y'all. And good news, 99% sure that a Wake and Bake show with Steven and Jake will be right here tomorrow morning for y'all. And Steven's still kind of not happy with me, but he's getting a little bit better, but we will have a good top 5 for you. We will have a lot of NHL and NFL draft talk because, draft time tonight. Everyone's on the clock unless you're not in the first round, because it's only the first round today, and that is okay to some people. They don't want all 5 rounds in the first, or all 6, 7 rounds, I think it is. Maybe 8. I don't know how many rounds there are. There's crap ton all in one night, because that would last 4 hours, just because they give them 3 minutes to pick each person. 3 minutes added up times 30, and then add that times 5, and you got a big number of 7 hours of draft time. And this is prime time. They're not going to do it at this time, but NFL draft's probably not going to be watched by a lot of America tonight because also Avengers start tonight. I am so excited to watch it, to be able to do anything. I'm not going to see it tonight, sadly, but no spoilers. If you're going to see it tonight, please, no spoilers. Don't send anything, no spoilers. I don't want to know. I don't want to know who dies. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know the ending. And, I'm so anxious, so ready to see it, but that's not sports. Unless Tony Stark's dribbling a basketball up court, we will not cover it here on the 4th and 11 show. We will talk about it. Let's just say that it's out there, and you should go watch it, but it's not sports related. As we get into the birthdays today, big birthdays. Tim freaking Duncan, the man that wears 21 to where no one, I don't even know where I was going with that, but no one can stop the man. He is a 15-time All-Star, and that number just amazes me right there. Not a lot of people in any sport can make 15 lifetime All-Star or Pro Bowl or whatever appearances, and Tim Duncan did it. He is a 5-time champ and a wonderful guy, a future Hall of Famer probably. I miss him so much, even though I'm a Rockets fan. I miss him already. Spurs, HEB commercials, if you haven't watched them. If you're not from Texas, then, it's all right. You should go on YouTube and look them up, because they're pretty funny. They're great commercials, and, I'm going to miss them. But next birthday, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner. He has done a lot for the NBA after getting the torch or something, the baton or whatever. He's the successor to David Stern, one of the founders of the NBA. He was one of the first NBA commissioners, and he did a lot for the NBA. And Adam Silver's done a lot for the NBA, especially letting the Clippers win again tonight. And we'll talk about that later. I thought I was going to be able to talk about the Warriors and Rockets, in this show, but I didn't get to. One team made it, but the other team did not. And the Warriors, it's hey, y'all were up 3-1. Y'all remember this, but obviously it's not no Cleveland Cavaliers or Oklahoma City Thunder. It is the Clippers. So we're not expecting a lot, but we could. They will go back to LA for Game 6. They took another one out on the road. They have not won in LA yet this series. They have won all their games on the road. So it's surprising. That shows that they can probably win a Game 7 if they are able just to win one game at home for Game 6. So that one is going to be a doozy. There's still 2 series left going on in the first round, the Spurs and the Nuggets, and the Warriors and the Clippers. Hopefully those games will end, or hopefully those series will end soon so we can get back to this NBA and we'll get more games as we head into the second round. A lot of NBA second round good matchups in the Eastern Conference. Philly and Toronto, we talked about them yesterday. Milwaukee and Boston, we talked about that yesterday. Most likely going to be the Warriors and the Rockets, and that's going to be a good series. And I want to say Spurs, but they're down 3-2, taking on the Portland Trailblazers or the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. Either of those matchups are really, really good and are going to attract a lot of viewers across the world to watch those two teams play. And our last birthday, it is an announcer. It's Joe Buck for Fox Sports, the guy that stands next to Troy Aikman and calls the Dallas Cowboys losing another game to the Giants or whoever, or winning another game and then just falling flat in the playoffs. But he's the guy that calls all those games. You might recognize him because a lot of fans, or Cowboys have a lot of fans. A lot of people love to watch the Cowboys. And a lot of people hate the Cowboys, so they watch it just so they can cheer for the other team. So a lot of people know Big Joe Buck. Well, he's not big, but it's a nickname. It's a nickname. It doesn't matter. First, to start off with, Washington. Man, I feel bad for you. Your Wizards were absolutely trash without John Wall for a season. Had a lot of painful moments there as Wizards fans. And then you had that Bryce Harper moment where he leaves. And then you go to the Capitals and you think, oh, we're defending champs. We can do it. We can do it. We still got Ovechkin. We're good. We're good. No, you're not. You're exited out of the first round in early summer for the NHL's defending champs, the Washington Capitals. As the Carolina Hurricanes move on to the next round, they are going to take on, I forgot, oh my goodness. It's not the Maple Leafs, not the Bruins or the Blue Jackets. Oh, the New York Islanders. I knew I was going to get around to it sooner or later, but the New York Islanders versus the Carolina Hurricanes. So it's been a while since we've seen the Hurricanes in the second round, and we will see them in the second round this year. And it's a beautiful sight, but not a beautiful sight if you're a Washington Capitals fan or if you're a Washington fan in general, because the summer begins early, and the summer is going to be a little harsh this year because they don't have Bryce Harper in that Nationals uniform out there. So, that was a 2 overtime game, came down to the wire. I feel bad. I really feel bad. I don't. I want to talk hockey. I want to talk this, and but I don't. I'm still caught up on the whole fact that I probably ruined the whole Knights season. And, Steven's still pissed at me, but, he'll get over it. There's another season, and, he just needs to believe in the next season. And we'll see what happens with that. The Stars, at least he still got the Stars. He was first a Stars fan at heart. He never really too much cared about him, but, it was the team. If he went to a game or if he was watching hockey on TV and the Stars were playing, he was going to cheer for that team, but he wasn't a huge fan. we'll let him talk about that. Well, if you want to ask him questions about a stupid hockey favorite team dilemma, go ahead. Go ahead. My team has just been the same ever since I was born. It's been the hometown team, the Dallas Stars, and that's the way I'm going to stick with it. That's the only Dallas team that I actually care about, because there's no Houston, there's no San Antonio, there's no teams in that market. So obviously the Houston Aeros left, and we're fine with it. But Steven, if you're going to listen to this, I want you to know that, the Knights will be back once they get a good defender. And they'll be back. They'll play for a Stanley Cup, next year. They'll play it. They'll play for it. Everyone has a chance for a Stanley Cup. Everyone has. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm so sorry for all the Knights fans if I did actually jinx it. But I don't care. Knock on wood. Anything you want. I'm glad that the first round's over, because we're getting close to crowning the champion. And I hope that, we have a good, clean, safe second round. And we'll see what happens in that. I want to also talk about, because we've been talking about fans left and right, the Washington Capitals, close name, but Washington Capitals fans were cheering on TJ Oshie in that game, and he waved his hand. The guy that got injured by that blatant, I don't know if it was arrogant or stupid, but it was a tough hit, and he hurt his arm, and it was a whole story. Go listen to the Wake and Bake show like 2 weeks ago or something like that, or a week ago I think it was. But it was a rough hit, and that's the first time all playoffs I've seen fans actually really do something smart, really do something really kind of just like affected my heart. I got to watch it and be like, yeah, those are some good fans out there in Washington, but they did not obviously like the ending of that, as Capitals go home early. But it's going to be a weird second round for the Hurricanes. They're, Game 7, they're going to be tired. They're going to be playing the New York Islanders. And Islanders, they've got some rest right now. They swept the Penguins. Can they keep that going and sweep the Hurricanes? But we will have to see. Obviously, the Hurricanes had probably a harder challenge. The Penguins are falling apart here in the later stages of their career. Sidney Crosby in the later stages of his career. They don't have Marc-Andre Fleury. They lost him 2 years ago to the Knights, but it's all right. The Penguins are still making the playoffs. They're still making their fans happy. They just ran into a hot Islanders team, and that's the way sports go. They run into hot teams, and they just can't win. So it's sad to see it, but it's all right. It is all right, because we got the Stars and Blues. That's the matchup that I want to talk about. That's happening. I think tonight. I think it happens tonight, Thursday. Yeah, Game 1, and it's gonna be a doozy. I'm gonna be sitting my happy butt on the couch and watching the whole game, and then talking about it the next day on the Wake and Bake show with Steven and Jake. It's gonna be a fun little. We'll see if they win. The Blues are obviously good. The Stars, not great on offensive. Blues are better than the Stars on offensive, or better than the Predators as well. So if the Stars do not defend very well, they can obviously get blown out of the series, and if they don't score goals, they can obviously get blown out of the series as well in two different ways. They got to defend. They defended well against the power plays. And the Predators never score on a power play. They need scores, or they need goals, and they need the Blues just not to be able to score. Ben Bishop's been on fire lately, and we'll see what happens in that one. Obviously, the other Western Conference matchup, the Avalanche and the San Jose Sharks. Steven will not want to say that. But that I don't. I'm just gonna move on. Hockey is not gonna do it for me today. I'm just gonna be completely honest with y'all. I'm not wanting to talk about hockey right now because of just the fact that of just not last night, but the night before with the Knights and the Sharks. Obviously, the craziest 20 minutes you could ever get in hockey anywhere. I mean, just weird little thing. Obviously, the Knights were, something happened in the news. They were like protesting the call and all that, and it was a big call because that was a 5-minute power play, a big power play that they scored 4 goals on, and those are the type of power plays that cannot be stopped after a goal. So, I mean, if it could, they would have scored once and it would have been 3-1 and they probably wouldn't have won. But because they were on a power play for 5 minutes and it was nonstop, they could have won. Or they had a pretty good chance to win, and they did. And they got it done. Congrats out to San Jose. But as we move on, Vladimir Guerrero. Yeah, his son, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Toronto Blue Jay, is making his debut on Friday. So, welcome to the show, buddy. We'll hope that you have a great career as your dad did, or as you're projected to, or anything. I hope that you are one of the greatest of, all third basemen out there. But as we all know, there's been times to where there's been busts. But knock on wood, I hope you're not a bust, buddy. I hope that you're really good, and I am anxious to see that. I will cover it on Monday. Friday, man, that's tomorrow, actually. I'm sorry. I'm thinking it's Wednesday. It's not. It's Thursday. It's draft day. It's whatever. We can make shows tomorrow. I'm going crazy. But the Blue Jays, they're still far, far away from being able to go to the playoffs, but getting Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up into the lineup is a step forward. Because they lost Troy Tulowitzki, they lost Josh Donaldson, they lost Jose Bautista, they lost J.A. Happ, they lost Roy Halladay like a long time ago. I don't know. I'm just going off Blue Jay names I know. They lost a lot of guys in that lineup. They lost Roberto Osuna. They've lost a lot, and getting it back piece by piece, starting out with Vladimir Guerrero, is a huge, huge step forward. Obviously, they can probably get a lot of good offense from that. And we'll see what happens. You know who didn't really have too much offense? The Jazz and the Rockets. Obviously, the Rockets made it up to 100 points. But the Rockets obviously move on to the second round after a low-scoring affair against the Jazz. 20 points for both teams in the first quarter, and it looked like it was like going down to into the second quarter as well, and they were not even at 40. Either team were not at 40. It was like 43, 42 at halftime, and it was like, what? Rockets usually score 40 points in one quarter. Like, what? Excuse me? Who is this? But the Rockets obviously move on, and I'm not complaining. Jazz fans, go home early. Do the Jazz need a little bit of a spark or a little bit of a change in the offseason? It's a question for me, and I'm going to have to think about this, because the Jazz have Donovan Mitchell. He's a young guy. He's going to learn. They have Joe Ingles. They have Rudy Gobert. They have Derek Favors. They have, a lot of the other young pieces, but they need that other go-getter. They need probably a better point guard, I would say. Ricky Rubio's a pretty good guy, but and then you got, I'm thinking that there's another. No, there's not another. Kyle Korver is growing way too old. Royce O'Neal, he's pretty good. But, I mean, it's just like the Jazz on paper should do better. But this is on paper. That paper is drifting through the wind and it's going somewhere else. On court, they're not great. They're stagnant. They're always running through one person. If they were running through, I mean, last year we saw them in the OKC series. Joe Ingles was scoring like every single last little play of three. Joe Ingles, three. Joe Ingles, three. Joe Ingles. Then they play the Rockets and always goes through Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is a good player, but he is not going to be able. He's not like a James Harden, where like he's unstoppable on the offensive end, or he's not like a Steph Curry where he's unstoppable on the offensive end, or LeBron James. He's not one of those guys. He's not. He might grow to be that way, but he's not right now. And they just kept going through him. He kept taking, I think, one game, talked about it, he took like 30 shots and he had 30 points. That's like, what? Why would, I mean, it took you 30 shots to get 30 points. It's like, no. And that was in a loss. That made it, I think, 3-0, I think it was. And just, what? Donovan Mitchell, you need to pass the ball. I know that you're a shooting guard and you're not really a point guard, but you need to learn to give up the ball when you're not shooting the ball very well. You're becoming a Russell Westbrook. You're going to be known for your stats, but you're not going to be known for a great player. But obviously the Jazz probably need a little bit of a point guard, maybe a solid, really, not a Royce O'Neal or a Joe Ingles, even though those guys are pretty, good. They're role players, but they're not great. They probably need a good defender at that 3 spot to be able to compete in this Western Conference, because LeBron James is there. Kawhi Leonard might come back. You also got Kevin Durant. You got a lot of guys in a Western Conference for that 3 spot, and if you're not able to have a good 3 to guard those threes, oh, and I forgot Paul George as well, then, like, what are you doing in this playoffs? The Rockets have P.J. Tucker. The Oklahoma City Thunder have Paul George to guard. I mean, he's a superstar, but to guard Kevin Durant and LeBron James. They're, they got pieces to guard them. We saw the Pelicans. They only have Anthony Davis. They don't have anyone else. You're going to pick Drew Holiday over any other point guard in the NBA? I mean, maybe a few, but it's still they're going to need to fill like 2 spots. They're going to need to fill the point guard and the small forward position with they need to upgrade that position a little bit more, and then probably add a little bit of depth, add a little bit of a veteran in there, and then y'all probably make it to a 3rd seed next year. As Donovan Mitchell will get into his 3rd season, with the help of a veteran, he'll learn what to do and how to play, and then you also get better point guard play as well, and you also have a defender at the 3 to defend Paul George and all these other guys, so they're going to be pretty well, they're going to be not a Warriors strength, not a Rocket strength, maybe not LA if they get another guy in there. They're not at that strength, maybe, or maybe they are with LA at least, or maybe the Rocket strength, because Rockets are getting a little bit older. But the Jazz need a little bit of help. Not too much, but a little bit of help, and a little bit of help can go a long way. And a little bit of practice can go a long way. Allen Iverson knows that. But the Jazz move on to the offseason, and sad and lonely, they, get beat by the Rockets for the 2nd straight year in a row. And we'll see what chip on the shoulder they have, as Portland Trailblazers had a chip on their shoulder, and they came out and they won the first series. They were in pretty big. But we'll see what happens. I was going to talk about the Warriors and the Rockets in this last little bit of the show, but no, I get to talk about the Clippers. Yay. Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley and Danilo Gallinari and Boban? No, but Boban's not there. I'm just kidding. Zubac. I get to talk about those guys. And Montrezl Harrell. I get to talk about those guys. Yay. I'm so excited. And Gilgeous Alexander and all these other guys. I get to talk about them. Yay. I don't want to talk about them. I really don't. I want to talk about the Warriors and Rockets. I was so ready for it. I was so ready for Rockets and the Warriors to, come out. And then if the Clippers lost, I was going to talk about the Clippers, what they need to do in the offseason. But their offseason is not happening so far yet. They can do it in Game 6. I believe in you. I believe in you. Knock out the Warriors in the first round. Humiliate the Warriors. And then make the Rockets' life a little bit easier by playing the Clippers. The Clippers obviously had the number of the Rockets early on in the season, so mostly because they were injured. But, either way it shapes out, the Clippers and Rockets be a pretty good series. Both teams hate each other. Both teams have a lot of guys. I mean, Patrick Beverley starts fights every single night. And Lou Williams used to be on the Rockets. So did Patrick Beverley. So a lot of good and the bad in that series. If that happens, Warriors and Rockets, a lot of turmoil and tension in that series. A lot of people are hating on that series. They're saying the Warriors in 6 or Warriors in 5. No. The Rockets are on fire, and they shouldn't have been a 4 seed. But the Rockets obviously lost Trevor Ariza. They lost Luke Mbah-a-Moute. But this is still a pretty good team. They still have a good core set with Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, P.J. Tucker, Chris Paul, James Harden. They have a pretty good set there. And a boiling temperature, red hot, nerves flying everywhere, tension, whatever you want to call it. And the locker room of the Warriors, they're going to come out and they're going to play very, very hard against the Warriors because they hate the Warriors. The Rockets have been knocked out by the Warriors a lot lately. They were never really good in the regular season against the Warriors. They were never good in the playoffs except for last year. With the signing of Chris Paul, the Rockets have had a chip on their shoulder against the Warriors every single year. So it's going to be a fun series if that happens as well. I wanted to talk about it. So bad. I wanted to. But we will not be able to. And we're still waiting for the second round to start. But tonight, Thursday, Nuggets and Spurs will maybe get a closer tonight. As most people will be watching that game instead of the NBA draft, or NFL draft, sorry. But the Spurs and Nuggets go at it for Game 6 in San Antonio tonight. So it's going to be a fun one there. San Antonio is going to be hopping if they force a Game 7. Obviously, in the NHL, the Blues and Stars, as I talked about earlier, Blue Jackets and Bruins also in Game 1 to start out the NHL second round. So a lot of good games on tonight. So a lot of good games for you to sit and watch, and probably in the MLB as well. It's a Thursday, so a lot of new series are starting or ending. But a good sports day today. Went through it really quickly. This has been the 4th and 11 show. Join us tomorrow morning for the Wake and Bake show with Steven and Jake. Obviously, the greatest morning show ever. So we'll be right here for y'all tomorrow talking about the NFL draft and the NHL playoffs. Signing off.